You're watching a video about the psychology of people who don't post on social media. On social media. Let's just sit with that for a second. You clicked this because something in the title matched something in you. Maybe you rarely post. Maybe you deleted your accounts years ago and never looked back. Maybe you scroll through other people's updates and feel genuinely puzzled by the need to share every meal, every trip, every Tuesday. And somewhere underneath the click was a quieter motivation. You wanted someone to tell you that the way you use or don't use social media says something good about you. That's not a criticism. That's just an honest description of why videos like this one get watched by millions of people who already believe what they're about to hear confirmed. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. The brain seeks confirmation. That's not weakness. That's just how cognition works. But knowing that mechanism is running doesn't mean you have to let it run unchecked. Here's the thing though, there are actually two very different kinds of people who don't post. One group genuinely doesn't need the stage. The other wants to be on it, but is afraid of what happens if they are. And most videos in this space will spend the next several minutes telling you that you're definitely the first kind. This one is going to do something different. It's going to help you figure out which one you actually are. Because that answer, the honest one, not the flattering one, is where the real psychology starts. Think about what social media actually is, stripped of all the branding. It's a stage. Every time someone posts, a photo, a story, a carefully worded update, they're walking out in front of an audience and performing a version of themselves. Sociologist Erving Goffman called this impression management. He argued that all social life involves a front stage, where we perform for others, and a backstage, where we drop the act. Social media collapsed that distinction. The front stage is now always open, always lit, always waiting. And for a lot of people, that's exhausting. You've seen it. The friend who spent 45 minutes editing a single photo for a story that lasts 24 hours. The vacation that looked incredible online and felt hollow in the moment because half of it was spent making sure it looked incredible online. And at some point, you looked at that and thought, I don't want to do that. Maybe it happened gradually, maybe all at once. But you'd have stepped back from the stage, or never stepped onto it, and something about that decision has stuck. What that decision means depends entirely on why you made it. Here's what almost no one in this conversation is willing to say out loud. Not posting on social media is not automatically a sign of confidence. It's a behavior. And like most behaviors, it can come from very different places. The first kind of person who doesn't post is the one most videos describe. They genuinely don't feel the pull. They share their life directly with people who matter. A text, a call, a dinner table. They're not performing restraint. They're just not interested in the performance at all. The second kind is harder to talk about. They don't post because posting feels dangerous. Because the gap between how they see themselves and how they fear others might see them is wide enough to make visibility feel like a risk. They stay off the stage not from security, but from a specific kind of dread. What if I post and nobody responds? What if they do, but not the way I hoped? Both look identical from the outside. Neither has posts, but the internal experience is entirely different. And a significant number of people watching a video like this one are in the second group. They clicked not because they feel settled in their decision, but because they're looking for language that reframes their anxiety as a virtue, which brings us back to the brain. In 1981, psychologist William Swan developed self-verification theory. The idea is straightforward. People don't just want positive feedback. They want feedback that confirms what they already believe about themselves. If you see yourself as private, independent, and unbothered by approval, you seek out information that confirms those traits, not because it's accurate, but because confirmation feels like stability. This is why videos about non-posting psychology have millions of views. They're not primarily educational. They're confirmatory. People watch them the way they read their horoscope, not to learn, but to recognize themselves. Here's a data point that actually matters. According to internet researcher Jacob Nielsen, roughly 90% of people online consume content without creating any. 9% react occasionally. 1% create most of what's posted. Not posting isn't a personality trait that sets you apart. It's the statistical default. What the research does support is the mental health case for intentional distance from social media. A 2023 study found that reducing use led to a measurable decrease in depression symptoms within weeks. The mechanism isn't mysterious. Less time comparing your internal reality to other people's curated exteriors means less chronic low-grade dissatisfaction. So here's what all of this actually points to. The question isn't whether you post or don't post. That's surface behavior. The question is what relationship you have with being seen, and whether that relationship is something you've chosen or something that was shaped by experiences you didn't choose. Genuine confidence around visibility doesn't require a decision not to post. It just doesn't feel particularly urgent either way. You post when something seems worth sharing. You don't post when it doesn't. The audience, its reaction, its size, its silence, isn't the point. Anxiety around visibility looks different. It makes the decision loaded. It turns a simple choice into a referendum on your worth. It makes the absence of posting feel like it needs justification, or like it needs to mean something. Needs to be framed as privacy, as depth as psychological sophistication, because the actual reason feels too vulnerable to name. Both are human. Neither makes you a better or worse person, but only one of them is free. The people who are genuinely off the stage aren't watching this video to feel better about being off the stage. They didn't need the video. They were already fine. If you needed the video, if some part of you exhaled when the title matched what you do, that's useful information. Not damning, just useful. Because the gap between performing non-performance and actually not caring what the audience thinks is exactly where the real work is. If you're still here, phone in hand, the feed open in another tab, not sure what to do with what you just heard, this is for you. You don't owe anyone a highlight reel. You don't owe strangers access to your meals, your travels, your face, your grief, your good days, or your bad ones. Whatever is keeping you off the stage, confidence, caution, exhaustion, or just a genuine lack of interest, you're allowed to stay there. But if there's a version of you that wants to be seen and has been talking yourself out of it by calling it wisdom, that version deserves some honesty too. Because opting out of something you actually want, then building an identity around not wanting it, is its own kind of performance. Just one nobody can see. The stage isn't for everyone. But the decision to stay off it means more when it's actually yours. You don't need this video to confirm you're doing it right. And the fact that you watched it anyway, that's worth thinking about. If this said something you needed to hear, share it with someone who's been watching from the wings.